In this video, we're going to look at working with instruments. Now, to start with, make sure you're on the Play tab and then Instruments in the Sub tab over here. And we can just open the disclosure triangles, look around for instruments, and double-click them to load them, and they'll load into the selected part, for example. And to change it, we can just click another one, and it'll replace it. Let's say I go to electric piano, and I'll try one of these. And it's replaced it. To delete an instrument, hit the X button and it'll remove it from that part. I'll load another one in here. And in addition to viewing a descriptive name of what the instruments are here, we have an info button. And by using this, we can display info on the instruments that are selected in the browser. So let me hit info here and we'll see an icon. We see the size. We see the category that it's in, a little description, and we see how the macro knobs are mapped over here. Now, it's important to understand that this display of the Info tab pertains to what's selected in the browser and not what's loaded into the slot. Now, I have Suitcase EP Chorus 2 loaded in here, but if I select another one, it'll display the info for whatever is selected here, but I haven't changed anything. I'm still on that original electric piano. Let's say I want to go to some brass. I can find out different info about it. And then if I want, I can just double click from here and it'll load and replace the instrument in the selected slot. This is a big one, jazz sax and trombone. We can see it's 139 megabytes. The category, the description, and how the macros are mapped out, and of course a descriptive icon. And it should be finished loading in a moment. And you'll see here that when I switch the Info tab off, it'll have replaced the piano in this first slot. There we go. So if I shut that down, we'll see that it's replaced it. Now we can also search for instruments using this magnifier tool, and we get a search field. Let's say I'll type in guitar, and now it'll return a subset of guitars. And maybe I can try one here. I'll try Carlos. And it's replacing the slot. And to clear the search field, just hit the X field. And now you'll see that it's reverted to where I was in the browser before, but I have this instrument loaded in now. If I want to have the browser in sync and update with this, all I need to do is double click on the instrument, and it'll bring me to where I am in the browser to where that instrument is. So we can navigate like that. Now, we can also save instruments. From under this menu here, we can save or save as. So let's say I make some changes to here. I'm going to adjust some parameters on this preset. So just some simple changes, but let's say I want to save that as it is. So what I can do is go Save As, and it's going to open up a file dialog box now, and I'm brought to my Sample Tank Instruments library, so it goes there by default, and I can insert it into any of the preset categories. But I think I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to call it User Instruments. So with that, I'll call this Carlos. I'll just put my initials at the end to indicate that I've modified it. So let's save that. And we should see it now in the browser. Now, if we don't see it, we can always use this refresh button to update it. But let's close up the categories. And these are the main categories here. And here we go, User Instruments, where I just created that patch. And there it is, Carlos EK. And there it is with the modified settings. If it didn't appear here, or if you are making any changes in Windows Explorer or the Mac Finder outside of Sample Tank, you can use the rescan button here, and this will rescan all the instruments and rebuild the database to update it. And I'm going to cancel it for now. Another thing we can do from under this menu is rename instruments. So let's say I don't like the name of that. I'm going to change the name, and I'm going to call it Carlos Modified Mids, or Modified EQ. Let's save that, and it should update it. Let's double click that and load it in, and there it is. And in addition to the save as and rename functions, I can also update instruments using the regular save function. Now let's say I find I want to change and tweak the EQ some more, or any of the parameters, and I want to update it. What I can do is just use the save function instead of save as, and now it's updated and it'll recall those parameters. Let me load another sound in. and then go back and load this one, and we'll see it's got the modified parameters. So save as, rename, and of course we can delete these instruments as well. So let's delete this modified instrument. I don't really need it. And I'll load another one in. It's remaining in there because I've deleted it from the browser, but it still exists within this instance. But let's load another one in real quickly. I'll go to percussion. There we go. And now if we go back to the user instruments, we'll see that it's empty and that modified Carlos setting no longer exists. So those are the basics of working with instruments, and in the next video we'll look at importing older libraries.